Okay, so next we're going to go over compound interest. Our formula is a little different. A still stands for total amount, P still stands for principal. No difference there. But I've given you two different letters here. I, which in simple interest used to be RT, and now there's an exponent of N. Well, I is actually a formula in itself. I stands for R divided by C, which is R is still the interest rate. C is what we call a compounding period. And I'll get into that. And N is also a formula, YR times C. YR stands for years, which makes sense, and C is still compound period. So we use compound period two different times. So let's just do a really straightforward question. Let's say we have $1,000 and we can invest it at 2.5% annually. Okay. All interest rates are pretty much annually, but the compound periods are what's important. Compounded, I'm going to say weekly, which is very rare.
Would that be 7?
No, it won't be 7.
1?
Everything's got to be in terms of a year. Okay, so let's talk about this. First of all, 1,000 stands for our principal. 2.5 is our R. R is 0.025. We talked about how to do that. You divide by 100 to figure out it is as a decimal. Compound period, weekly. Everything's in reference to years. So for instance, annually, I should write this in red, is equal to 1 time a year. Semi-annually, yeah, twice a year. So every 6 months, 2 times a year. So in other words, your C is 2. The next best one, probably say is monthly. How many months in a year? That's right. So your C would be 12. Then you get into something called, oh, you know what I forgot? Sometimes they'll say quarterly. That's right. Quarterly would be 4, so go Q for quarterly. Then it can go into bi-monthly.
Is that 2?
No, that's every 2 months, so that would be 6 actually. Then you got bi-weekly, which let's figure out weekly before we figure out bi-weekly. Weekly, how many weeks in a year? Do you know? It's 50.
Wait. Oh, yeah.
It's 52 weeks in a year. So then bi-weekly would be half of that, which would give us that 26. So here's kind of a list of the things. Okay. So in this case, we're weekly. So in other words, our compound period C is equal to 52 times. Okay. So in terms of our formula, A is equal to P 1 plus, and I'm going to write R over C with YR times C. Okay. And we're going to say he invests for 5 years. I forgot to write that in. 5 years. Okay, well then our YR is equal to 5. Very simple when they tell us that. So we got to figure out the total amount. P is 1,000. So we have $1,000 invested. 1 plus the interest rate, which is 0.025, divided by the compound period, which is 52. And then we have years, which is 5, times the compound period, which is 52. Okay, so from here we get 1,000. We'll divide that and add it to 1 all in one shot, because it's pretty straightforward to do that. 0.025 divided by 52. And if I add 1 to that, it's just going to be 1.000480. So 1.00048 and then a 0, which is not as important.
You can also go for decimal place, so it would be 1.000, right?
1.000. Well, 1.000 won't change anything. We do need to get these other numbers in.
Oh.
Yeah, so we do got to get to at least 2 significant digits.
Oh.
Okay. And then our next one is 5 times 52. 5 times 52, 260. So it's 260 times. So this seems odd. First of all, the interest rate is way lower than we said it was going to be. If you think about this, this looks like 0.48%, not even 1%. And our time is no longer 5, it's 260. Well, what this is saying is, what's actually happening is in every week you're getting a new amount of interest in your bank account. And then they add that to your total amount, and then they give you interest on the new amount. Okay? So what's happening here is over the course of a year, they give you interest 52 times. So they break up that yearly interest rate, which is 2%. They break it up to be evenly distributed over 52 times. So every week you get 1/52th, a fraction of 2.5%. So this is what it comes down to per week, 0.48%. If you multiply that by 52, that will give you that original yearly interest rate.
So 260 is basically the days. How much days? Is that it?
260 is how many times it's been compounded. So because it's compounded every week, so that's 52 times in a year, over the course of 5 years,
It's been compounded 260 times.
260 times over 5 years, because that's how many weeks are in 5 years. You can think of it like that. Okay, and then the next step is really just to carry out the formula. 1.00048 to the power of 260, right? And then I'm just going to multiply that by 1,000. He now gets 1,132.88 cents. 1,000. What did I say? 132? I forgot already. 1,000. Yeah, 132.88. 132. Yeah, you're right. It does round up. Okay. So the total amount is $1,132.89. So how much interest did they earn over that time of 5 years?
1.0048.
Well, actually, what we do is we take the new amount and we subtract the principal. So we get 89132. They earned $132.89 in interest. Okay, so that's essentially compound interest. To isolate things is similar to simple interest. We have to isolate for variables. Okay, but that's how to calculate a compound